Today we are not just looking at a single book or, a specific historical event. We're zooming out.
Way out.
I've got my hands on this document that I can only really describe as a kind of skeleton key for literature,
It really is a fascinating framework. It's titled Alle Dingen die we moeten weten, which is Dutch for all the things we must know.
which is a pretty confident title.
Extremely confident. But, the content kind of backs it up. It's essentially this master list that pairs some of the heaviest hitters in the literary canon, Plato, Orwell, Kafka, T.S. Eliot, with a very specific set of 10 universal questions.
And the claim here is that these 10 questions are the tools you need to deconstruct, well, basically any story. It's like a mechanic's toolbox.
That's a great way to put it.
You have the tools, the questions, and then the materials, the books. So our mission today is to see if this actually works. Can we take these questions, apply them to these masterpieces, and find something new?
I love this approach because it turns reading into an active investigation. You aren't just letting the story wash over you. You're interrogating it.
Right.
You're asking, how is justice functioning here? Or what is the specific shape of regret in this character?
So let's test the theory. I want to jump right into the deep end with part one of this list, which tackles the big existential stuff, the good life and justice.
Let's do it.
Okay, so question number 2 on the list asks, a good life means different things to different people. Consider how a good life is represented in 2 works studied.
It's a deceptive question because the good life sounds like a brochure for a retirement community.
Right.
But when you look at the source material here, it pairs Jonathan Livingston Seagull by Richard Bach with Plato's Allegory of the Cave.
You could not pick 2 more different answers to the same question. Let's start with the seagull. I read this years ago, and I remember it just being about a bird who wants to fly fast.
That's the surface plot, sure. But if we apply this good life question, we see that for Jonathan, good is synonymous with perfection.
Okay.
The rest of the flock is obsessed with the mundane fighting for scraps of food behind fishing boats. Jonathan just completely rejects that.
He starves himself to get the aerodynamics right. He practices diving at terminal velocity.
Exactly. For him, the good life is transcendence. It's about breaking the physical limits of what a seagull is supposed to be. It's a hyper-individualistic pursuit.
He has to leave the flock. He's actually exiled to achieve it.
Yes, to achieve that self-actualization. So the argument in Seagull is that the good life is found in isolation and in mastery.
But then you throw Plato's cave into the mix, and the whole idea just flips on its head.
Completely. In the allegory, you've got prisoners chained up watching shadows on a wall. One escapes, climbs out, and sees the sun. He sees reality with a capital R.
And that moment, seeing the sun, that's the equivalent of Jonathan breaking the speed barrier. That's the Enlightenment.
It is. But here's the crucial contrast. Plato doesn't let him stay there. Oh, right.
Plato argues that the good life isn't just seeing the sun. It's the duty to go back down into the cave,
Into the dark.
into the misery, to try and free the others, even though they won't believe him, even though they might actually kill him for disrupting their world.
That is a massive distinction. In Seagull, the good life is rising above the mob to perfect yourself. In the cave, the good life is descending back into the mob to save them.
Precisely. One is sort of aesthetic and spiritual, the other is political and moral. And this cheat sheet just forces you to hold those 2 definitions side by side.
Let's pivot to question number 4. Consider how justice is defined in 2 literary works you have studied. And for this, the list gives us a nightmare pairing. George Orwell's Animal Farm and Shirley Jackson's The Lottery.
Oh, yeah. This is where we see how justice can be weaponized.
In Animal Farm, justice starts out as this beautiful, codified ideal. The animals overthrow the humans. They write the 7 commandments on the barn wall.
All animals are equal. Exactly. But the tragedy of the book is watching that definition just slide. The pigs, specifically Napoleon, they realize that if they control the language, they control the justice system.
Right. When the pigs want to drink alcohol, the commandment mysteriously changes to, no animal shall drink alcohol to excess.
Justice becomes fluid. So in Orwell's world, justice is just a mask for power.
It's cynical. It teaches us that written law is meaningless if the people enforcing it are corrupt. Justice is whatever keeps the pigs in the farmhouse.
Now compare that to The Lottery. This story still freaks me out.
It's chilling.
You have this quaint village, a sunny day, a black box, and a drawing.
And the winner gets stoned to death by their neighbor.
But the terrifying thing here is that there is no Napoleon. There is no dictator rewriting the rules.
And that's the key contrast. In Animal Farm, justice is corrupted by a clear villain. In The Lottery, the villain is tradition itself. The villagers don't hate the woman they kill. They chat with her minutes before the stoning.
They just do it because,
Yeah,
well, that's what they do. Lottery in June, corn be heavy soon.
exactly. Here, justice is defined as adherence to the status quo. It's a communal delusion.
So if Animal Farm warns us about tyrants,
The Lottery warns us about complacency. It asks, is justice an objective truth, or is it just a story a community tells itself to excuse its own violence?
that is a heavy thought. Animal Farm is the mechanism of evil. The lottery is the banality of evil.
I think that's a perfect way to frame it.
Okay, let's move from the societal to the internal. Part 2 of our breakdown focuses on the mind. Question number 1 asks, discuss the role that regret plays in 2 works studied.
Regret is so often the engine of a story. It's what drives characters to fix things or what destroys them.
And the list pairs T.S. Eliot's poem The Hollow Men with Sarah Teasdale's The Look.
The Hollow Man is the heavyweight champion of regret, but it's a very specific kind of paralyzing regret.
We are the hollow men. We are the stuffed men.
It's that post-WWI disillusionment. These are men who haven't done anything wrong necessarily, but they haven't done anything right either. They're defined by their inaction.
And the poem ends with that famous line, this is the way the world ends. Not with a bang, but a whimper.
And that whimper is the sound of missed opportunity. It's the regret of apathy. They didn't sin, they didn't serve, they just existed. Their regret is a void.
Now contrast that with Sarah Teasdale's The Look. This is a much shorter, sharper poem about a specific interaction.
Yeah, a boy and a girl, a glance is shared, a kiss is missed. It's so immediate.
I shall be as peaceful as the leafy trees, she says.
But she's lying to herself, isn't she?
Oh, absolutely. The whole poem just vibrates with the pain of that missing kiss. It's the road not taken in a romantic sense.
So if Eliot gives us this regret of, cowardice and emptiness, Teasdale gives us the regret of passion denied.
And that covers the whole spectrum of human regret, doesn't it?
I think it does. We regret the things we didn't do because we were too scared to move. That's Eliot. And we regret the things we didn't do because we were trying to be good or polite. And that's Teasdale.
While we're on internal development, let's look at question 7. This one's about coming-of-age stories. It asks how the protagonist develops psychologically and morally.
Usually we think of coming of age as teenage dramas, but if we look at Jonathan Livingston Seagull again, it fits this definition perfectly.
It's a bird, but it's a Bildungsroman.
It is. Think about the arc. He starts as the misunderstood youth, rebellious against the conservative elders of the flock,
Then he gets exiled.
which is the classic wandering in the desert phase. In the isolation of the cliffs, he masters his craft. He moves from awkward adolescence to mastery. But, and this is the key to the question, the moral shaping happens when he decides to return.
Right. He doesn't just stay on the mountaintop.
If he stayed, he'd just be a talented hermit. But by going back to the flock that hated him, he completes that moral arc. He learns forgiveness. He becomes the teacher.
It's interesting to view Seagull through that lens. It really reframes the whole narrative from a story about flying to a biography of a soul. He moves from self to other.
And that's the power of these questions. They force you to categorize these works in ways you might not have initially considered.
Let's move to part 3. I want to talk about the craft itself, how the authors are manipulating us. Question 8 is my favorite on the entire list. Demonstrate how a comparatively insignificant event can take on considerable importance.
This is the butterfly effect question, right? How does a small hinge swing a big door?
And the source material points us to maybe the best example in history. Franz Kafka's The Metamorphosis.
It wins the prize for the most understated catastrophe.
As Gregor Samsa awoke one morning from uneasy dreams, he found himself transformed in his bed into a gigantic insect.
The event is just waking up. He didn't drink a potion. He didn't insult a witch. He just woke up.
It's incredibly mundane, except for the beg part.
But look at the importance of that event. That one moment strips away everything. It strips away his job as a traveling salesman. It strips away his role as the family provider.
And that's the real tragedy, isn't it? The insignificant event reveals that his family didn't love him. They loved the paycheck.
Exactly. Once the paycheck stopped, the love stopped. The bug transformation is just the catalyst to show the rot that was already there.
Now compare that to Robert Frost's Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening.
The event here is even smaller. A man pulls on the reins of his horse to look at some snow.
Nothing happens. No bug, no explosion.
But in that pause, the entire universe opens up. The woods are lovely, dark, and deep.
That line always gives me chills. It sounds peaceful, but it's also kind of final.
It is. That insignificant pause is a flirtation with death. Or at least a flirtation with just giving up, with just laying down in the snow and letting the cold take you.
But then he snaps out of it. But I have promises to keep up and miles to go before I sleep.
So that tiny event stopping the horse becomes a battlefield between the desire to give up and the duty to keep going. If he hadn't stopped, we wouldn't even know he was struggling.
It just shows that authors don't need car chases. They just need a pause.
Or a bug.
Or a bug. Which leads us nicely to question 3, humor. Consider the ways in which these works employ humor and to what effect. Now, people don't usually think of Kafka as a comedian.
Which is a tragedy because Kafka is hysterical. It's just a very dry panic attack kind of humor.
Right. When Gregor wakes up as a monster, he has 6 legs, a hard shell. He's oozing goo-wit. What is his first concern?
He's looking at the clock thinking, oh God, I'm going to miss the 5 a.m. train. The boss is going to be furious.
It's absurd.
It is. And the effect of that humor is to highlight how brainwashed he is by capitalism. The absurdity of his reaction underscores the tragedy of his existence.
We laugh because it's ridiculous, but then we stop laughing because we realize we've all been there, worrying about an email when our world is falling apart.
Precisely.
Contrast is another big tool. Question 6 asks about contrast. We touched on the lottery earlier, but the contrast there is purely structural.
It's the engine of the story. If the lottery took place in a dark, stormy, Gothic castle, the ending wouldn't work.
Right. It takes place on June 27th. The flowers are blossoming profusely. The grass is green. The children are playing. It's a Norman Rockwell painting.
Jackson uses that sunny, normal atmosphere to disarm you. She makes you feel safe. So when the stones start flying, the betrayal you feel as a reader is visceral. The contrast amplifies the horror.
It's the uncanny valley of storytelling. The more normal it looks, the scarier the twist is.
Exactly.
Okay, let's get into the social commentary. This is where literature really flexes its muscles. Part 4. Voices of Society. Question 5 asks, how valid is the assertion that literary works are a voice for the oppressed?
You cannot ask that question without talking about Allen Ginsberg's Howl.
I saw the best minds of my generation destroyed by madness.
Howl is a scream. It is the definitive voice for the oppressed of the 1950s, the drug users, the pacifists, the homosexuals, the artists who didn't fit into that buttoned-up American dream.
The poem feels like an avalanche. It's breathless.
That structure mirrors the content. Ginsberg is trying to give a voice to people who are being silenced by psychiatric institutions and police stations. He isn't just describing them, he's channeling them. It validates the assertion and the question 100%.
And then we have Dylan Thomas, do not go gentle into that good night. This is also a voice raising up against an oppressor, but the oppressor is different.
The oppressor here is biology. It's death. Rage against the dying of the light.
It's interesting to compare Ginsberg and Thomas. Ginsberg is chaotic, free verse energy. Thomas is incredibly structured. It's a villanelle, a very strict poetic form.
But the rage is the same. I think Thomas uses that strict box to contain the grief so it doesn't consume him. Ginsberg fights society with chaos. Thomas fights death with order. Both are refusing to go quietly.
Let's talk about gender. Question 10. To what extent do male and female literary characters accurately reflect the role of men and women in society? We have a poem by E. E. Cummings called May I Feel, Said He.
This is a tricky one. It's a dialogue stripped down to the bone. The man is pushing boundaries. May I feel? May I touch? And the woman seems to be resisting, then consenting.
It reads almost like a transcript of a negotiation.
It does. And if you look at it as a reflection of society, it captures that playful yet complex power dynamic. The male character is the initiator, the aggressor. The female character is the gatekeeper.
But does it reflect society, or is Cummings satirizing it?
That's the million-dollar question. The characters are just said he and said she. They're reduced to their roles. It suggests that these aren't people, they are scripts. We're watching a performance of gender.
And finally, question 9 tackles difference. Physical limitations, mental illness, being an outsider.
We have to go back to the Metamorphosis. It is the ultimate text on difference.
Gregor is the ultimate other.
He is. And the question asks how difference is portrayed. In Kafka's world, difference isn't celebrated. It's not a superpower, it's a liability. His physical limitation, being a bug, makes him repulsive to his family.
It reveals that their love was conditional. As soon as he was different, as soon as he couldn't provide, he became garbage. Literally.
Yes. The maid sweeps him up at the end. It's a brutal look at how society handles disability or difference. If you can't participate in the economic machine, you are discarded.
So what does this all mean? We've gone through these 10 questions with a stack of books ranging from ancient philosophy to beat poetry.
I think it proves the hypothesis of the cheat sheet. These questions, regret, justice, the good life, insignificant events, they really are the DNA of storytelling.
It's amazing. You can take question 8 about insignificant events and apply it to Bret Easton Ellis's White, or take question 4 about justice and look at the lyrics of Bob Dylan's All Along the Watchtower.
There must be some way out of here, said the Joker to the thief. That's a cry for justice, isn't it? A cry to escape a system that doesn't make sense.
Exactly. The tools work on everything.
And I think that's the takeaway for you, for the listener. When you pick up a book or watch a movie or listen to a song, don't just consume it. Ask it one of these questions.
Ask, where is the regret here? Or how is the good life defined here?
It changes the way you see the art. It really does. And I want to leave everyone with one final thought, going back to that idea of the good life. We looked at Jonathan Livingston Seagull achieving it through flight, and the prisoners in the cave achieving it through truth. But we also looked at the hollow men who failed to find any life at all.
Right.
Makes me wonder, is the good life defined by what we successfully achieve? Or is it defined by what we refuse to accept? Did Ginsberg find the good life by rejecting sanity? Did the animals in Animal Farm lose the good life because they accepted the pig's lies?
Wow. That is a question I'm going to be thinking about all day. Are we defined by our flight or by our refusal to stay in the cave?
Something to mull over.
Absolutely. Thank you for listening to this deep dive into the universal questions of literature. Grab a book, pick a question, and see what you find. We'll see you next time.